Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Monday edition of the To Be Frank Show. This is going to be a special edition, which is why the format is changed a little bit. I'm going to introduce my partner, Sarah Strackhouse, into this in just a moment, but I want to explain why we're doing a special edition for today's show. We've been informed by Facebook over the weekend that this show really doesn't fit the mold of shows that they want to promote on their platform. It's not political enough either to the left or to the right. What we've tried to do, and anybody who has watched this show, we've tried to do a show that does meet in the middle, that is not ideologically based, a show that we feel that a majority of people are interested in watching and hearing. Subject to that, last year, for people that have followed this show, in 24 episodes, we had over 3.5 million views. So we were a hugely successful startup show when it was just me like this talking into the camera. This season, I wanted to even take the show to different platitudes. So I asked my co-host, Sarah Strackhouse, who's been a reporter for 12 years and was involved in my last show, to come into the show and really help us become even more of a professional show. What's happened here, though, is over the weekend, Sarah was informed that Facebook is not interested in promoting a show like this. Now, let me point out to everyone who's out there, censorship in the United States of America with these companies, these platforms, these social media companies, is alive and well. If you have listened to Fox News or CNN and you're being told it's not, they're not telling you the truth. It's alive and well. And subject to what we found out this weekend, Facebook is not interested in promoting a show like this because, quote unquote, it's not political enough. Well, that's the whole problem with the system today. It's the whole problem with everything. And I'm going to bring Sarah in a minute. She's going to explain some very finer points to everyone. But this show today, in its special format, is going to be the last show that we're going to do for this season. And what we're going to do is we're going to work very, very, very hard to find the right placement for a show like this because people believe in what we're doing. Now, I want to get technical for 1 minute. Section 230, and Sarah's going to get into this, gives these companies like Facebook and like Google, it gives them immunity to do whatever the hell they want because they're only supposed to be the platform. It was designed that they're only the vehicle. They are not editorializing anything, quote unquote. They're editorializing everything. Everything. And we've been very careful on this show to make absolutely sure that we sit in the center. I was prepared to do this show for at least another month and really figure out the right placement of this show so that a show like this could survive. We've advertised with Facebook for 2 years, but we're being told now that no matter what we do, this is not a show that they're really interested in promoting because, quote unquote, it's not political enough. Let me bring in my co-host, Sarah. Sarah, maybe you could explain to the viewers exactly the information that you got and some of the back and forth, really not back and forth with Facebook, but some of what's happened here. And, you know, I've really worked, Sarah, pretty hard not to pick on the social media companies, but we're going to do it today. And they may censor us, and if they do, we're going to tell you how to get today's show. But go ahead.
Yeah, and really quickly, just piggybacking off what you're saying, to get today's show, tobefrankshow.com. That's where we're going to store everything.
We're going to put it up on Facebook, and we're going to put it up on YouTube. But there's a good chance, based on what we have to say today, that the viewer needs to know. That the viewer needs to know. And you can see I'm pretty fired up today. The viewer needs to know these things. These aren't made up things. These are real. But go ahead, Sarah.
Absolutely. Okay, so first off, we received a note November 6th, and I'm using these specific dates, that says that in 5 days, the Facebook ads team would be running some tests intended to talk about our delivery, our ad campaign and our delivery and why they weren't reaching numbers. Well, I found out recently, I was speaking with someone who has that contact at Facebook, and they told us that our show isn't polarizing enough. That if we're in the middle, then we do not have a higher opportunity maybe to go viral because we are not invoking enough anger and emotion. So if we're not going viral enough, then they're not going to continue to, they're going to put our ad budget on the lower end of the budget and not continue to push our show.
And they don't, and for everyone out there, they don't have the right to do that.
Yeah.
They are a portal. They are nothing more than a railroad track or a runway for an airplane. Mm-hmm. They have been given immunity that the cable companies don't have, that the national networks don't have, that magazines don't have. They've been given immunity through Section 230, and they have abused it. And the problem is Congress has let them do it, just like they've let them do a lot of things, and just like a lot of things going on in this country that I'm pretty upset about. But when Sarah comes to me and tells me, here is the issue, because we knew there was a viewer issue. Again, last year in a show that's not even close to this. This show is good. I put this show up against any show on cable television, on regular television, anything. We do our homework. We know what we're talking about. The problem is we're not political enough. We don't hate Trump and love Biden, or we don't love Biden and hate Trump, or we don't. I don't even understand what the hell these people want.
Yep.
But this is not America. This is not the United States of America.
No, it's completely true. And they've been called in front of Congress multiple times, but nothing has come of it. They've asked questions. They've called them out on things, all the big tech companies, even Google, but nothing has come out of it. And that's the most frustrating part. I mean, I am still locked out of one of my news pages because I shared something and the channel that I shared it from got taken down because of some information.
Well, better yet, you had the Sarah Strackhouse show, right?
Oh yeah, and it was basically one of my shows. I had a number of them. I shared an interview from my own show that did not talk about the vaccine. It did not talk about election fraud. It didn't talk about any of the things we're not allowed to talk about on this open platform, and it still got censored. And my Facebook, to this day, right now, my Facebook page says your page is in review. I reviewed it. You know, our producer here helped me kind of try to go through the proper forums to get it reviewed about 2 months ago, and it's still in review.
Well, whether you're a Democrat, whether you're a Republican, whether you're an independent, okay, doesn't matter. This is wrong. This is completely wrong. And I'm in a position in my life now that I can actually do something about it. Because if they censor the show, they're going to hear from me in a big way. Because there's nothing to be censored about this. Mm-mm. We have done everything that a human being can do. And I was always wondering, okay, maybe it's a little slower, cycle, or it's a little slower. Again, my show last year hit it out of the park. It was one of the top startup shows in the country. I mean, I was doing huge numbers. And all of a sudden, when these numbers come in, we know that there's something not right. Sarah knows there's something not right. Holden knows there's something not right. And now we finally found out what's not right. We don't fit the mold for a company that's supposed to be a railroad track, that's supposed to be a runway. They're not supposed to editorialize any of this.
No, not at all. And piggybacking off of what you're saying, if you're not familiar with Section 230, so Section 230 of Title 47, which is out of the U.S. States Code, it's enacted in part of the Communication Decency Act. Basically, it says it provides immunity for these certain website platforms with respect to third-party content. So because it's a third party that's posting to these websites, they essentially don't have any liability for what's being posted, but it also gives them immunity from being sued or from, but under that same vein, they're not supposed to editorialize for that specific reason because they have immunity.
And this is complete editorializing, and there's no other way to say it. This show is not political enough. It doesn't have enough hate in it. Okay? It just, ladies and gentlemen, you just can't sit idly by. Now, let's get to a couple things. If you're a Republican and you're out there and you see what Facebook did to Donald Trump, you're upset. Okay, you're upset. Donald Trump, for the most part, should have been able to tweet any damn thing that he wanted to tweet. What got a little sticky is after the January 6th and during the January 6th insurrection scenario, whatever you want to call it, okay? I was not a big fan of what happened there. And my biggest problem was very simple, because I want to explain this. It was the fact that the Donald built false hope with his followers that Mike Pence technically could go in there. He was never going to do it, but could go into Congress and decertify the election and not certify it. That was never going to happen. It could not happen. Our country would have blown up. We would have had riots. We would have had whatever. It couldn't have happened. Now, we have stayed away from election fraud. Okay, we've stayed away from it. But it exists, and it's existed for 30 years. The question is, how much did it exist, and did it really turn the 2020 election? No one knows. Okay?
But the fact that you're even saying that could get you taken off Facebook.
I know. Well, and we're probably going to,
Right.
Again, we're going to find the right vehicle for the show. But the point I'm trying to make, Sarah, is people have been talking about election fraud for a long time. Mm-hmm. Nobody took it to the level that Donald Trump took it to, mm-hmm. Okay? And then he asked his vice president not to certify the election. I was never for any of that, okay? He had an opportunity to go to the courts. The courts would not hear it, whether the courts were right or wrong. That's the law of the land in the United States. But what they did to Trump, because they didn't like, they were waiting for some excuse to censor him. Okay? And you'll find out, and this is a sad statement, you'll find out that they are much more liberal. They are much more left-leaning. They are much more tolerant on the left than they are on the right. These are companies that are allowed in the United States, Sarah, to operate in the manner they operate based on policies and laws inside the country that allow for them to have this kind of immunity. Mm-hmm. And it's not right, and we're calling it out today.
Yep. And a lot of the rules that the reason why Facebook claims that sometimes they're, quote unquote, I think editorializing, but they say that they're taking something down or because of the Good Samaritan protection. So basically they're going through and what they don't feel like is written in good faith or said in good faith, they can take down. But again, that is censorship. That's the whole point of America. We are a country that's born from freedom of speech, being able to say what you want. I mean, I understand, you're not allowed to kill people and pornography and, child pornography, all of this stuff. Like, there's obviously certain things that our country needs to censor and be careful about. But talking about an election, speculating whether or not fraud occurred, speculating whether or not a vaccine is effective, how is that freedom of speech in our country?
Well, and I'll give you a better one, Sarah. We're seeing now the remnants of what happens when you become a totalitarian government, like what's going on in China. This latest one with the tennis star now, Peng Shui. Okay? This is a joke. But China's a joke. Their government's a joke. The people are good. The people are good. But, back in the COVID thing, oh, wow, you're being, you're not treating the Chinese properly, and you're being racist, and you're being this, and you're being that. Not being anything. Their government sucks, okay? Plain and simple. And they censor their people, and they don't allow their people to have free speech. We don't want to become that, but this is the direction that we're going. It's all politics. Now, Sarah, tell the viewership, we've sent this show because I was anticipating some of this. I got a little gray hair for a reason. And I knew about a month ago there was something that wasn't right. Okay, there was something that wasn't right with Facebook. Something was not, no one could explain it to me. and I'm a very inquisitive guy, explained the situation with, I said, well, let's send it to CNN. Let's send it to Fox. Let's send it to everybody because they have their digital platforms. This is the best digital show out there because we cover it all and we try to cover it properly. What we're being told, and maybe what CNN and maybe what Fox are saying, you're not political enough. They want to either be over here or over here. That's a sad state, Sarah, to our country.
It's a sad state, but at least they are not under this Section 230.
Correct. No,
but it's a sad state. We have sent it to CNN. We have sent it to Fox News. We have sent it to a bunch of these different platforms. We have had one response back from Fox News, which said that it's been sent to their editorial team. That's the only response we've received.
Yeah. And again, you can watch every show that we've done in the second season. Every show. Every show is really good. Every show is being commented on by tens of thousands of people that this is what we're looking for. But the problem is, Sarah, it's all about money.
Yep.
Apparently, this is all about money. And we'll get to some money here in a minute because I've changed the whole format of the show because this will be our last show of the season. So I'm going to cover some stuff about this ridiculous spending plan to pass through the House on completely partisan lines. 220 Democratic congressmen voted for something that they can't even add up. But nobody wants to talk about it. Nobody wants to put a microphone in front of somebody and ask them, how are you going to pay for this?
Right.
Nobody. Not on the Republican side, not on the Democratic side. All the Republicans want to do these damn Democrats, right? Want to complain about that, and it's a good complaint. And over here, on the liberal news media side, oh, well, this is really going to help a lot of people. In your own life, you have to make choices. You have to make choices. How many times do you want to go to Hawaii? How many times you want to go to Europe? How many times you want a new car? But you can't afford it. We're broke. We can't afford anything. But yet now we passed $1 trillion infrastructure bill we don't know how to pay for. And now the House has passed a $1.9 trillion Build Back Better. It's not Build Back Better. And let me tell you, some of the stuff in the bill, I'd like to help people too.
Yeah.
How do you help them? You don't have the money. $29 trillion and counting. I mean, that was going to be a big unplug for today. So I'll just, talk about it now. Sarah, how do you pay for it?
You don't. You can't. You just amount in debt.
You can't do it. You can't even pay the $29 trillion back, let alone in 2 more years, it's going to be $34 trillion. You can't pay it back. And when the currency now falls apart, and here's the bottom line, everybody is dealing with inflation. Anybody on television that tells you it's not a big deal is full of shit.
Yeah.
They are completely full of shit. Turn the channel, right into the editor. They don't know what they're talking about. Because as this debt continues to grow now in these huge numbers, there's no way around more inflation. There's no way around eventually higher interest rates.
Gasoline over the last year is up 92%. Coffee, 89%. Crude oil, 85%. Heating oil, 85%. Bent crude, 81%.
All right, so let's cover it now in a non-political way. Okay, we shut down pipelines, we shut down drilling, we put all the restrictions back on, and now we're begging somebody else to pump the oil because, quote unquote, it's good for our environment that we did it over here. Well, what about the environment of the world planet? Okay, does it really make a difference what we do if Saudi Arabia does what they do and Russia does what they do and China does what they do? How stupid do these people think we are?
Well, and if we're turning it up at OPEC, someone's going to be doing more drilling, which will affect the planet to begin with.
But you know that politically, though, Biden and all his moccasin-wearing liberal idiots are basically now, rallying the troops. Oh, look at what we're doing. You're not doing anything. Could we get off fossil fuels to some level in the next 10 to 15 years? Some level? I believe we could. If solar is an answer as an implementation to fossil fuels, and it can take some of the numbers down, great. If windmills can take some of the numbers down, but they're never going to be the answer.
No.
It's not going to be the answer, okay? And the fact of the matter is, without fossil fuels, we can't run the planet.
Well, more than 70% of our energy right now is from fossil fuels. So if you eliminate that, we have nothing. I mean, we've seen what happened in California. They're told to shut their lights off half the day, or not to run appliances half the day because they can't function, because they can't harness the solar power.
So what are we doing in the country? What are we doing? Has anybody asked these hard questions? Is it being reported on the news channels that you're watching? Because censorship is alive and well. It's happened here now to the 2B Frank show. And I'm very upset about it, as you can see. Let me cover a few other things we were going to cover today that are important. We have so many problems in this country. And now there's guys in the Navy that can't get a paycheck for 2 months. And now they're being told if you don't get vaccinated, you're getting released anyway.
Right.
Why would we do that? Sarah, why would we do that?
Because we have a country run by idiots.
Well, why would we do it? Does that make sense?
No.
I mean, why would we continue to cause one more problem after another?
Right, when we're already struggling with so many issues.
But what is the point? Do you know what the point is? Can you
Control.
ascertain?
Control. It's trying to control the American people. That's the only thing I can
And the news media, for the most part, is allowing it to occur. Shame on them. Shame on them. Mm-hmm. And these now ridiculous platforms, I call them platforms. You know, Facebook, this guy, he even changes the name to his company to what the hell does he call it?
Meta, which is the weirdest thing. Okay, so it's a metaverse. Basically, they're talking about new technologies in this 3D virtual world. I'm sorry, but people need to come down to reality right now, more than ever.
Okay, then take them out of Section 230, and when they editorialize, let people go after them legally, so that, in fact, that's what ultimately keeps people straight.
Yeah.
Not these protections based on laws that are passed by a bunch of bureaucrats in Washington.
Yep.
Also, this terrible, terrible, terrible event in Wisconsin, that this hardened criminal out on $1,000 a bail.
2 days ago.
1,000, okay? Not 30,000, not 50,000, 1,000. Goes now and kills how many people?
5 people, injures 40 more.
How many children?
I'm not sure of the children numbers.
11, 12 children injured. Okay? Drives through a Christmas parade.
Christmas parade in Wisconsin. He was released 2 days. It took him 2 days to kill and injure how many
and
others?
let's segue into what's going on in San Francisco. Let's segue now, because this is the show today. No. Just a pile on. Okay? Look at San Francisco now. They've had their second big heist now in a Louis Vuitton shop. Same thing that they did in Nordstrom's. Okay? Complete lawlessness. In San Francisco, California, if you steal less than $950, it's a misdemeanor. So they steal $949.
But they just changed that because they were charging too many people. That's how ridiculous it is. They changed the law because they were charging too many people.
Is this where now we have viewers in San Francisco? Is this what you want out of your local and state government? Is this where our country is falling apart?
Well, so this whole conversation is ridiculous because last year there was the whole defund police movement. All of these cities, all of these Democrat-run cities promised to, take hundreds of millions of dollars away from the police systems. Now we're seeing in places like New York City, Oakland, Austin, Atlanta, DC. I can go on and on. Crime rates rose 20%, 50%, 60%. And now people are finally investing money, millions back into the police force, trying to hire more people, 40 more officers in Washington and it's just unbelievable.
Right,
finally, people are realizing.
To all of my Democratic liberal viewers, and I respect you as much as I respect anybody that watches the show, is this working for you? Is this working for you? This no bail, let people out. What about if you lived in Wisconsin and you got a call last night that your child's in the hospital or your grandmother got run over and is dead? This is where it becomes real. Okay, this no bail, this defund the police, this crazy stuff that goes on, it's completely ridiculous. And the fact of the matter is, it's got to stop or our country is going to disintegrate. That's what I'm worried about. I'm as American as any human being that could go on television. I'm not more, I'm not less. I am completely patriotic. This country has done great things for me and my family, my parents, my grandparents came. What the hell are we doing? Somebody's got to ask the hard question now. What are we doing? You can't keep going like this. I'll give you another one, Sarah. Here's another one. You got 6 universities that are out there now that want to make, and one of them is the University of Maryland, which I respect, that want to make Thanksgiving a day of mourning.
Yeah,
I saw that. A day
of
mourning, okay? This is stuff that they're doing. Cover this.
Well, so just in case anyone needs a backstory of what Thanksgiving is, it's an annual holiday here in America that celebrates the harvest and other blessings throughout the year. And it originally believed it was created in 1621. The harvest be shared by the English colonists, the Pilgrims of Plymouth, and the Wampanoag people. And now there are people in all of these 6 universities that are saying that it should be a national day of mourning because of the amount of indigenous people who were murdered. But I'm sorry, why are we focusing on all of that? I mean, granted, yes, that it's great to understand history and learn history, but Thanksgiving is supposed to be a day where they come together and they're blessing for the past year about all of the food
they're being
and
thankful for living in this country and coming together, and it's about families.
So are we just taking everything good in the country and just throwing it down the drain because more people want to shed light on the issues? I mean, are we not going to have any positive holidays or positive days in our country?
Well, if we leave it up to these lunatics, that's how it's going to end up. University of Maryland, all you people out there that went there or support them, call them up. Florida Gulf Coast, don't even know where the hell that is. University of Washington State, a big college in the state of Washington, big football program. You go there, you call them up and ask them what it's about. University of Central Arkansas, Hiram College in Ohio, and Cal State Long Beach. These are the people that are promoting a day of mourning. A day of mourning, okay? It's ridiculous. And our founders, all the way to our grandparents, and for those of us old enough, our parents, they're turning in their graves, ladies and gentlemen. They're turning in their graves. This is now out of control. Now, to show you that we're a balanced show, Donald Trump is causing more trouble in the Republican Party than he can stand. Sarah, he is after DeSantis now, both arms, both legs.
Yep.
Okay? Governor DeSantis from Florida is really doing some pretty positive things down in Florida. Mm-hmm. How do I know that? Go down to Florida and try to buy a house, because you can't buy one because so many people are moving in there, just as they're moving into Texas. And they're leaving these democratically run cities. And it's not the democratically run cities that I have a problem with. It's their policies that is all filtered through this filter in Washington of these crazy people that have hijacked the Democratic Party. I'm a Kennedy Democrat growing up. No such thing anymore. And I'm going to get to that in just a minute. But Sarah, DeSantis is a very likable guy. He's gaining now in popularity. Mm-hmm. Do you know that Trump is now shooting at him with
oh, yeah,
all the guns?
Well, in October, just last month, he wanted DeSantis to publicly denounce the fact that he would ever run for the White House.
Can you believe that?
No.
Can you believe that he would do that?
So DeSantis just has completely avoided it.
Would you do it? I wouldn't do it.
No, I would never do that. Of course not. Even if I wasn't planning on running. If someone told me that I had to publicly say I wasn't going to. I'd do the exact opposite. Yeah, I'd be like, well, maybe I will now.
Yeah.
Especially if DeSantis is doing, like you said, he's gaining in popularity. He has done so much.
But what is the Donald thinking? What is he thinking? That he can push these people around?
He thinks he made him. He keeps telling people that he would consider him.
Oh, yeah, it's right here.
Yeah, he would consider him for a VP bid, but he believes that he's the one who raised his celebrity status. When DeSantis has been doing great things all along. I've just looked up all of his policies, right? He's done great things for the people in his state, the elderly, the veterans. He's giving incentive to people who are police who are moving there, $5,000 for
overall,
a family.
he's been a really good
He's
governor.
been fantastic.
And the fact of the matter is, this is the civil war now
Yep.
that's getting ready to occur in the Republican Party because the Donald isn't going to get what he wants.
And if it splits the Republican Party, then there's a possibility the White House may not be Republican in 2 years, which it so badly
All right, can I
needs
ask you a
to be.
question?
Yes.
Let's be 1,000,000% completely honest.
Okay.
Donald Trump's ego and his Twitter and his demeanor and his hate and his mouth put Biden into the White House. Is that a true statement?
I 110% agree because you've said it before on this show, people were not voting for Biden, they were voting against Trump.
And Biden is the worst president in the history of the United States.
At the wheel.
He is not cognitively ready to handle the job, the number one toughest job. I get back to something I said on a prior show. Take a look at the picture of every modern day president that went into the White House, and then take a look at what they look like when they come out of the White House 4 or 8 years later.
Completely different.
Does that tell you about the job?
Yeah, it's the toughest job in the world. You are literally never set up fully for success. But at least we need someone cognitive, someone who can even finish a sentence, someone who can stand up and answer reporters, is not being told what to do.
He's by far the worst president in the history of the United States. His administration is filled again
It's
with a
embarrassing.
bunch of liberal-minded people that have no idea how to run a country. You heard it here. They have no idea. I'm not Sean Hannity now, No, they don't know how to run a country, period. Trump had at least some people that were smart, like Larry Kudlow. He was an incredibly bright guy that really understood the economy and numbers and other things. The Donald's his own worst enemy, and when he looks in the mirror, I hope he looks and says, I can't do what I did in 2019 because I gave the White House to a guy that's wrecking the country. But if he wrecks the country now in 2023 and 24 because he creates a civil war, don't forget, you also got Chris Christie out there. Mm-hmm. You also got Tom Cotton out there. You got a lot of other people out there. But the Donald, man, it's his show. He thinks he's king. And that's a problem for me.
It's a problem, too, because it's not someone that most people can get behind. I think DeSantis, at least most people, even if you're not a Republican, can get behind him.
Yeah. Two things cost Donald Trump the election in 2020. His failure to acknowledge and accept that the coronavirus was real. That's number one. It's undeniable. It's undeniable. And number two was his demeanor and his performances in the debates. Mm-hmm. The first debate, I was cringing. I mean, it was like if I had little kids, which I don't, shuffle them into the other room. You don't want anybody to look.
Oh, I thought you were going to say it was like watching a little kid debate, which it was.
Well, okay. All right, then.
Which it was. Yeah, it was. It was like watching a 12-year-old just get angry that they didn't know the reason why something was happening, but just yell and yell and yell.
Yes, and the Donald did some good things for this country. His
I
policies
agree.
And everything else. But let me point something out to you. He is also responsible for $7.8 trillion in 4 years of the national debt that we can't pay back, of the $29 trillion. $3 trillion was COVID, so you really can't put that on him. But 4.8 was him. And he sits around and he says, well, it's cheap money. It's cheap money if you have a cash flowing business to pay for it.
Yeah.
Just think about this in your own head, everybody. You own a hamburger store out in the corner, okay? And you borrowed money. But your hamburger store, you're selling hamburgers and you're selling French fries and you're selling shakes and malts and everything else. You could pay the debt. We deficit spend every single year since 2 years of Bill Clinton. We haven't balanced a budget in 25 years. We haven't balanced the budget. We're not going to balance a budget. And this debt is going to be the chokehold. The explosion out your back door is going to be the economy blowing up. You got to pay attention to it.
Because the mainstream media is not talking enough about
They
it.
don't know how to talk about it.
Yeah.
On one side, they want to just blame everything on Biden, and on the other side, they don't want to. If you look at CNN's website, go to it. It's the most ridiculous stuff that you can read, other than, they now are covering this Wisconsin thing. But anything on Biden, this guy falls asleep, they don't cover it.
Yep.
Okay? This guy stumbles at the podium, they don't cover it. It's just unbelievable. They're protecting this guy just as they protected him during the election. He held less press conferences and he had less media access than any president in United States history. How
Yep.
bad is that?
And on the flip side of that, all CNN did was anything that Trump did was wrong. Anything that Trump said was wrong.
Yeah.
Anything he held Melania's hand in a different way. Oh my gosh, they're having marital problems.
Yeah.
They literally picked on everything. And Fox News is not much better in the opposite
No,
part.
they're bad.
Yeah.
They're bad. But you want to know what? They've got the deal of a lifetime because every day Biden says something else.
Yeah.
Let's talk about this COVID thing. How can you have, Sarah, just tell me how you could have a 3.5-hour call, virtual meeting with China, and you never mention the origins of COVID.
Not once.
How can you do it? 5 million people dead. Now, I'm going to give you some foreshadowing because we may not be on for a month or two. We're going to find a platform for this show. Okay? That's my commitment. But they're protesting now in Europe, in Austria.
Yep.
There are lockdowns now.
Yep.
Italy, 3,000 people show up at Circus Maximus, which is this really cool piece of land where they used to have the chariot races. Been there many times. Is this foreshadowing for what we might see here?
Absolutely.
With all these mandates?
Absolutely.
Cover it.
I 110% agree. I mean, already we've seen the date be pushed back, like through January 4th. We've seen that a lot of these states, 27 states filed lawsuits against our administration for the vaccine mandate. I mean, we are seeing it already. We are seeing it left and right. People do not want to be mandated for a vaccine that doesn't actually work as a vaccine. Let's just say it. Okay, since we're probably going to be taken off anyways, it doesn't work as a vaccine. A vaccine is something that truly stops, eradicates it from being inside. That's what the smallpox vaccine. It's a vaccine means that you cannot get the virus.
That is an accurate statement, but I want to modify that. The modification is less people are dying that are vaccinated.
Okay, then let's talk about it. Then it's like the flu shot, okay? So you get the COVID shot. Is the flu shot mandated?
No, but it's exactly like the flu shot.
I completely agree.
No. Your point is well taken.
Right.
It's exactly like the flu shot.
What about Tdap? I was walking around as a pregnant woman, very worried about the whooping cough, even more so than COVID, because the Tdap shot people don't get.
You know what? Here's the point that Sarah's making, and it's an accurate point. If you're vaccinated, I'm vaccinated, I got the booster. I can still get COVID and I can still transport COVID to another person. Okay? That's the point on the vaccine issue.
Right.
The counter to that, though, is that if it reduces deaths and it reduces hospitalizations, then it's worthwhile. But your point is, call it for what it is.
Call it for what it is.
Is that your point?
And allow people to make their own choices. People choose whether or not to get the flu every single day, but we don't make people get the flu shot.
You know, I'm going to tell you, Sarah, there's a reality to that angle, because I know so many people now that are vaccinated that are getting COVID, and they're getting it, but they're not having to go to the hospital for most. Yes, and for that reason, it's worth it for me.
Right.
You know, everyone make their own decision. Your point on the mandates. See, my point on the mandates are never good. Now you're mandating for the military, and people are now having to get out of the military. You're weakening our defenses. And every single thing that Joe Biden and his administration does appears to me to cause another problem.
Yep.
And I don't understand why they're doing it.
I mean, our nurses, our police force, our city workers, I mean, people who are saving lives every single day, and people who worked through COVID and worked through all of these terrible times, and now you're about to fire them because they won't get a shot that they don't feel is worth it for them.
It's crazy. So keep your eye on Europe, ladies and gentlemen, here, because it could be foreshadowing to some of the things that could occur here. if we get into lockdowns again, because they're starting to lock down over there again, and it's just not going over. And you know, again, I only say this again, and I'm not just blaming the United States. I'm blaming the United States because I'm a U.S. citizen. But the world should get together and go to China and get to the origin of this damn thing and figure out what happened. If we could learn more about the origin, maybe we could create a real vaccine. Maybe we could create something where you're not going to get
eradicate COVID-19. That would be great.
So the point on the vaccine that Sarah made, we've held back a little bit on this show. It's true. It's more like a flu shot. And flu shots make sense. They make sense to me. And I got one. Okay.
Hundreds of thousands of people have died from the flu. So the shot is the same principle.
All right. We've gotten into major cities and Democratic cities, San Francisco and New York, and it just goes on and on and on. The beat goes on. If you think that's the form of government that you want, I'll go back to this. 220 representatives in the House of Representatives, all Democrat, voted for this ridiculous Build Back Better bill that nobody can pay for. And it's not going to get through the Senate, okay? They're going to pass something, which they shouldn't pass anything. They're going to pass something. And again, I'd love to give child credits. I'd love to give people help. We can't afford it. There's no money, okay? We have to cut spending. We can't keep spending more money. That was Trump's biggest problem, you know? When he put the tax cuts in, they met their intended purpose. The problem is he had to cut spending along with the tax cuts. He couldn't do it because he's another politician.
Right.
That's the whole problem with all this. All right. To show that we've got every problem under the sun, go ahead and cover it. So this Rittenhouse thing now. So this kid gets off. I'm sick of the whole thing. I'm going to let Sarah cover it just briefly. The bottom line is I want to move on because we got bigger problems. But the kid got off.
And people have lost it.
Yeah, they have.
Yeah. So the Kyle Rittenhouse case, he's been found not guilty and was acquitted of all charges. This happened on Friday after a self-defense claim. And basically, he was on trial for killing 2 men and injuring another during the BLM riots. He shot them. And again, if you look at the footage, it clearly shows self-defense. Clearly, the jury has spoken. Even President Biden came out and said, look, I stand by what the jury has concluded. He said, it'll leave many Americans feeling angry and concerned, myself included. We must acknowledge that the jury has spoken. Well, him saying that, I'm sorry, but people got onto President Trump for rhetoric on his Twitter for the January 6th event. Him saying it will leave many Americans feeling angry and concerned, myself included. That's a little stirring, I think.
We disagree on all this, but the bottom line is that
he was found innocent.
That's right. And God bless him.
Yeah.
I just hope it doesn't send a message to other kids they could put loaded guns and go walk the streets when there's a protest and shoot somebody.
And look
that's all I hope.
No. If it were my kid, I would have said, don't go there.
That's all I hope.
And we talk about, people saying that he brought a gun over state lines. No, he didn't. First off, the gun was there. He was only lived 20 minutes away with his mom. His dad lived there. The rest of his family lived there. So there's all of these things. But look, he was found guilty. Like all of these other cases, let's move on. But a lot of people are saying, well, if he was black, he wouldn't have been found guilty. That's not true. I mean, think about the Andrew Coffey case that came down last week as well. He made a self-defense claim when SWAT came in and shot at him. He shot at SWAT and killed multiple people, and he got off on a self-defense claim. I'm sorry, but this isn't a race thing, and the country's trying to make it into a race thing. President Biden called him a white supremacist, and now all of these people are rioting again in the streets and looting again in the streets over something that's not a race issue. It's a self-defense, it's a gun issue, and it's a self-defense claim. We should be able to defend ourselves.
I hope it goes away.
Yeah.
I can't stand it.
Yep.
Okay, so you want to talk about real censorship now, where we're going? Okay, this show is being censored, okay?
And real quick, where we can get the show, tobefrankshow.com.
Yeah, being censored. This is the last show for the season because it doesn't fit the mold for what Facebook wants it to be. It's not political enough. It's not viral enough.
Yep.
It's not hateful enough.
It's not polarizing enough.
It's not polarizing enough. So you want to see what censorship looks like? Look at China. Peng Shui. Nobody's seen this girl. Now, they just had a video, and nobody knows when that was taken, where she is, what's going on. It's the goofiest thing ever. If we want to be China, keep going. That's all I'm going to say.
You want to be China? That direction.
Keep going.
We're already going that direction.
All right. DeSantis is fighting the hell out of these mandates. And basically what he's doing is now he just passed a bill that's going to allow for companies to opt out of the mandate and have people either make their own choice based on religious reasons or other reasons. And the bottom line is these mandates are going to be challenged the whole way through. They're a dumb idea. I understand the family that's sitting there that is dreading Thanksgiving and Christmas because there's unvaccinated, there's vaccinated, there's 30 people every year. I understand all of that. And you have my sympathy because there's no right or wrong answer. The issue really then becomes, though, do mandates actually solve anything? They don't solve anything because there's a certain percentage of people, when you think about the problems in your own family, think about the people that really have a belief this is not right for them and lose their jobs. Think about what their Christmas, what their Thanksgiving is going to be like.
Yeah.
So that's all I have to say about that, this whole mandate thing. And again, you know, you want to talk about the biggest joke in the history of jokes. The House, along partisan lines, one Democrat had voted against. They need 6. One did. They passed this $1.9 trillion ridiculous bill that it's just unbelievable. I don't even know what to say. We can't pay for it. There's no paying for it. You know, our country is broke. You can't pay back the debt. It's going to add a bunch of money to the debt. The bill's much bigger than they're admitting. And, you know, Sarah, from your standpoint, which you're not, you know, a numbers-related business person like I am, but the reality is everybody is now saying, and I'm saying, this is going to create even more inflation. This is going to create even more higher prices. This is going to create even more people that don't want to work. Why are we doing that?
I mean, we've said it before. Unfortunately, the country is run by people who don't understand this right now.
Yeah. Well, I don't understand it.
Well, you understand the technicalities of it.
I don't understand it. Well, in closing today, this is really a sad day for Sarah and I and Holden. You know, we work really hard on this show, so I'm pretty upset. I found this out early this morning. That this was in fact the case with Facebook, and they should be ashamed of themselves. They're going to censor the show, which is going to tell you everything. I dare you, Facebook, to put this on. Leave it on. Okay? How about that? And I'm not afraid of Facebook. I mean, I have lawyers too, but they have immunity where you can't do anything about it. Yeah. That's the sad part. Yeah. That's the sad part. They were going to help us with the show. And we reach out 5 times and they don't even reply.
And we wanted to pay. We wanted to give them money to promote our show.
It's unbelievable.
They just lost business.
Censorship is out there. They don't care about us. Censorship is alive and well in today's world in the United States of America. Anybody that tells you different again, argue with them. Turn the channel. But Sarah, it's been great doing the show with you for this season. You know, we're going into Thanksgiving and Christmas, which is going to give us, we wanted to do 24 more shows. I think this is show Holden. What show is this now?
38?
No, so that's 14, right?
Yeah.
So this is show 14. So we wanted to do 10 more. The long and short of it is, it's been a great joy in my life to do something like this because I really feel it's necessary. But what we're finding out is that people don't want a show that's here. And that's really the sad part, Sarah.
It's really sad because that's where people get their information from one side or the other, and the country is not going to come together. People are not going to learn and try to understand each other if they're continuing to be fed hate on either side.
And it just sounds to me like that's what the people want, man. They want radical stuff. That's what sells. That's what advertisers like. Just radical stuff, and I can't do it.
Yeah.
And I just can't be a part of it. I think it's wrong, and I think ultimately it's going to change. But we're going to look at this period, and I hope I'm...
It's a holiday break. We'll call it that.
Well, no. But this period in our country, I hope that I'm alive long enough to see us get out of it.
Yeah.
That's number one. But number two, we're going to look at this as the dark period because the economy is going to blow up, the debt's going to blow up, these liberal policies are going to blow up. Donald Trump is going to be a poster child for how not to run a campaign and how not to talk to people. And again, he did some good things. I don't dislike the Donald. I dislike the way that he deals. And for Joe Biden, to be quite honest in closing, I feel sorry for him.
Yeah.
I watch him on TV. I mean, I think we should, I know this sounds corny. I think we should pray for him because I don't think the guy's going to make it.
No.
I don't see how he makes it.
Yeah.
So,
absolutely. And it's sad to see, but it's what our life is. The Great Depression 2.
Yeah.
Part 2.
So, this is it for this season. Please stay connected with us. We are going to find the right platform and the right scenario for a show like this. I believe it's out there, and we're going to push to find it. But I can no longer, with Sarah, spend these Mondays and Thursdays with you when Facebook is doing everything they can to try to get rid of our show.
Yeah.
What a shame.
Yeah. And don't forget, you can find us at tobefrankshow.com. And, until we come back, because we're committed to making a comeback, have a good Thanksgiving, have a good Christmas, have a good New Year's, have a good Hanukkah. Whatever you celebrate over these next month and a half, 2 months, we hope you celebrate with family, love, and surrounded by people who bring you happiness.
Yeah. God bless everybody out there. And we'll be back to you. We'll just follow along, and we'll see you soon.